So over the years, I've talked to a lot of coaches, athletes, and something I'm always curious and interested about is how they train, what they do for training. So I guess training philosophy and training methods is something that I just find super interesting. And after talking to hundreds of people and research into the science, countless podcasts, today I'm going to share with you my training structure, which I've developed over the years, taking bits and pieces from what works, what doesn't, all the knowledge that I've gathered. And yeah, hopefully this will help you, the age group triathlete, with your training, but also just to have a bit more fun, because isn't that what the sport is all about? Fun. Why are we doing it if we're not having fun? So this is by no means a one-size-fits-all model. I think where's my microphone? I strongly believe that training should be individualized and adaptive based on your lifestyle factors, and there are so many variables to what the best training is for you. But hopefully this video might give you a bit of structure and outline to your training, and maybe even challenge some of your beliefs you've had in the past. So just because a certain type of training works for someone, for me, for you, for Alex Yee, doesn't mean it's going to work for everyone else. So you need to find what works for you. I've chosen 10 hours because I found that's probably the most common amount of time that an age group triathlete will train for. So between that 8 to 12 hour mark, some more, some less. And I think 10 hours is pretty doable. Most people can find an hour or so a day to exercise and maybe a bit more on the weekend. And it usually results to one thing a day. So in this video, I'm going to give you a few tips on how to structure a 10-hour training week. And if you have more time or less time, I'll give you a few tips on how to add load in and decrease the load as well. And I just want to start by saying the more training volume you do, the more important it is to get these training intensities right. And I'm going to go through this theme throughout this video. So first and foremost, before you actually get into the real triathlon training, I often suggest people to do a 4 to 6 week gym block where they try and get as strong as possible with the goal of developing what we call tissue capacity. And I think this is a very essential step because we want to give ourselves the best opportunity to finish the season injury-free. Most people's progress is actually hindered by injury, and they're not able to string together multiple weeks and multiple months of training. And by building tissue capacities and what we call the biological scaffolding, which are our muscles, around our structures, we give ourselves the best chance to be able to keep training injury-free, because I deal with injuries all day and they're headaches. They're absolute headaches. And this is even more important if you've had an injury in the past. So you have deficits between right and left, because we know that the biggest risk factor for another injury is a previous injury. So it's a no-brainer to get as strong as you can. And I will make a guide on what to do in this gym block later on. But in general, you want to spend 2 times a week in the gym at least. And then rest of the time you can do any sort of training, but your focus is trying to get those raw numbers high. So get, your leg press, your squat, your deadlift, and all your stabilizing muscles. Just, fix your deficits first of all, but also get those raw numbers up. And then hopefully the rest of the season, what you can do is just do maintenance. It's so much easier to maintain once you get to a certain level, rather than trying to build once you've gotten the injury and you're doing high volume training at the same time. And the great thing is once you've done this gym block over and over again, you know that what numbers you're capable of, what you're expecting, and how much gym you need to do before you go, all right, now it's time to start training. Okay, now let's get into the structure of this 10-hour training week. I won't get into so much the individual sessions itself, because that depends on your goals and what time of the season, and that's something you need to talk to your coach about. But a constant theme that I found that has come up in one of the best coaches in the world and what they do with their training groups is they actually don't do a 7-day cycle like normal human beings who have to work. They do this 4-day cycle, and this 4-day cycle goes like this. So the first day is always going to be the hardest session, usually a VO2 max session, and by hard I mean takes the longest to recover from. The second day will be something like a tempo workout, so medium workout where it's about a 6, 7 out of 10, maybe a bit longer distance. Third day, you're pretty tired by that third day, so all you're doing is endurance. You might do something a bit longer, but lower intensity. And the fourth day is either a recovery or something quite short. And if you look at most training at the top level, usually they'll have a version of this 4-day cycle that they do. Obviously, a 4-day cycle isn't very convenient to our lives. I strongly believe that it is important that training fits your lifestyle, not the other way around. You shouldn't live to train and live and, a lot of people do it, but I don't think it's the right way to go about it if you live and breathe triathlon. Balance in life is pretty good. It'll actually make you a better athlete, I reckon. Anyway, so what I've done is I've adapted this 4-day cycle into a 7-day cycle. And this might actually seem quite familiar to people who already do this. And I really like this because it splits the week into 2 blocks. And this is what I call in an ideal world. So everyone's got different, commitments. You've got different times that you can train. I'll give you a couple of options that you can do to change things around if you need to. So for a 10-hour training a week, we'll usually have 2 or 3 rides, 2 or 3 runs, 2 swims, and a maintenance gym if you can fit it in there, ideally. So what we know for sure is that running and cycling are way more taxing on the body than swimming. And for that reason, I like to structure my runs and cycles first in the week. In general, running is a little bit more taxing than cycling, but it also depends on how long, the duration you're doing. So in this ideal world, if I only had 10 hours to train every week, no more, and I had the option of training whenever I want, free schedule, Tuesday would be the hardest day of the week. So when I say hardest, I mean hardest to recover from. So usually this would be the key workout of the week, either a run or a ride based on what you're targeting. And these could be VO2 max sessions, or if you're early in the season, could be more long threshold work, or sometimes it could just even be a hard punch ride. Wednesday is more so a tempo, medium difficulty workout, and it's really important this is a medium intensity. So something you're working, intensities where you can probably hold for an hour. And Thursday would just be a typical easy ride, easy run, just building endurance. If you don't know how to do an easy run, I'll link a video somewhere here because that is super important to be able to do that right. And then Friday, you want to have a rest because usually people on weekends, they have a bit more time. So Friday is your key thing you want to do on Friday is prepare yourself physically and mentally for the weekend. Because Saturday is the second hardest day of the week. It's another hard day, I'll call it. This could be another VO2 max session. It could be, for me, it's usually a hard bunch ride with my mates. That's probably the most important workout for me because it's definitely the one I enjoy the most. It's the most sociable. It gets the competitive side, out of me. And for those who haven't seen my hierarchy for long-term consistency, training enjoyment is the most important thing. It's right at the bottom. Without training enjoyment, you're always going to plateau at some point, and you're eventually going to you're just not going to enjoy it. And as I said, you need to enjoy it. You have to have fun. And Sunday is just another endurance day, usually a long run, long ride, not too much intensity. And all the research shows that you can benefit from a lot of lower intensity, long stuff, and best time to do it is after a hard session. And Monday, same as Friday, is just recovery. So as I said before, your individual training sessions will depend on a variety of factors. Things like the time of the season, what event you're training for, your age, and how well you recover from different sessions. It all depends. But it's up to you and your coach to work out what works for you. But now I'm going to give you a few example weeks just to give you an idea what your week could look like based on your goal, time of the season, what you're training for, things like that. So when planning a training week, I like to think of it like baking a cake. I actually don't bake cakes, but my partner is an amazing baker. And I'd imagine the adding of ingredients is kind of like, planning out a training week. So what I like to do is add in my hard ride and my hard run first, which is on the Tuesday and the Saturday. So let's just say we're training for an Olympic distance triathlon, where in the build phase, we're not doing race specific stuff, and we're definitely not tapering either. So for this specific week, I'm going to schedule my hard run on the Tuesday, and that's going to be an 8 by 800 meters on the track with 200 meters of recovery. My hard ride will be a 2-hour bunch ride with the boys where we go all out up the hills and we try and attack each other. And I'd say it's really fun to put a hard day on a bunch ride because this gives you full license to go as hard as you can and absolutely cook yourself. So Wednesday, which is my medium day or my tempo day, I'm going to do some sweet spot or tempo efforts. I want to do 4 by 10 minutes at 85% FTP. And that's going to be on the trainer. Thursday is an endurance day, and that's going to be in the form of just an hour run. And on this day, it's actually really important to keep it easy. With the fatigue in your legs, the only real training you'll benefit from is that long, slow intensity. And it's much easier said than done, but if in doubt, make sure you go easier rather than harder. And on Sunday, we're going to do a 2.5 hour long ride. This long ride's actually quite important because it teaches our body how to use fats as opposed to glucose, which has a lot of benefits when you're racing. So that brings us to 7.5 hours. So we've got 2 swims to put during the week, the second last ingredient to this baking project I'm doing. I'm a very strong believer that swimming shouldn't take that much out of you. And if anyone's watched the Olympics lately, you'll know that swimmers, they swim so many races and they're able to repeat their performances, keep breaking records, even after swimming a max effort in the morning. So what we do know is that swimming isn't as taxing on your body, and we should be able to recover a lot quicker than the other 2 sports. So me, coming from a running background, I used to think that the harder you go, the more you must benefit. So more pain you have, the more lactic you have in your legs and your arms, the better you must get. And what I've realized is the times that I've made the biggest progress in swimming was when I was very conscious and mindful of the feel of the water and how I was swimming, and never doing things that were really all out. Because every time I went all out, I found that I actually swim a bit slower because my technique would turn to crap. So my advice is, if you're not recovering from swimming, you probably need to work more on that technique component rather than fitness. Because as triathletes, the limiting factor 99.5% of the time is not fitness, it's technique. So the logical places here to put our swimming sessions will be Monday and Friday. But swimming is a bit different in that most people have to swim in their squad sessions, or the pool's only open certain times. So I'll just say fit it in wherever logical. As long as you're not swimming 2 days in a row, you're spreading these swims apart to really reinforce that mind to muscle connection. You can really swim any time of the week. For me, I actually love swimming on a Tuesday and Thursday, so doubling up on the Tuesday and Thursday. That way I get the Monday and Friday completely off and keeping to that 3-day block and the 2-day block. So that brings us to 9.5 hours. So the last half hour, I want you to do some maintenance injury prevention work, so gym work. And best case scenario, you do some strength and conditioning work at the gym, kind of like what you did in that gym block, but trying to maintain your strength gains that you gained over that period. So best time to do it will be before a rest day. Here, I think on the Thursday after my easy run will be a good time to do it, because then Friday I get to rest. So this is an example of a 10-hour training week, and it actually looks really a lot like what I do on a regular basis. And as I said earlier in the video, everyone's a bit different, and we need the ability to adapt our training program based on our lifestyle. So this is an example. A lot of people work from home Monday and Friday, so you have a bit more energy because you can sleep in until 8:59 a.m. You only have to work 4 hours instead of 8 hours. You don't have to commute. So this one's an easy one. What we'll do is we'll make our hard days on the Monday and Friday. We'll shift our block 1 day up, and we'll maintain that 3-day block, 2-day block. The next one is my wife only lets me ride longer than 2 hours, 1 day a week. You know what? Tell your wife, no worries at all. What we'll do is we'll double down on that Sunday. We'll make that our key day. And then we'll keep all our other sessions at 1 hour. So on that key day, we'll make sure we make it a little bit longer. We'll have a few more intervals. Let's say that you want to do a bit of a run block because everyone keeps passing you on the run who you just passed on the bike. So keeping the same structure. So for this run block on Tuesday, Saturday, we're gonna do 2 workouts a week. I probably wouldn't do 2 all-out efforts. Make sure one day is a bit easier. So in this case, the Saturday is a tiny bit easier. And then I'll probably increase the Thursday to an hour and a half. If you want to prove your time on the bike, I'll just go Tuesday, Saturday will be my hard bike sessions. And if we want to improve our swimming, what I'll do is I'll just add more frequency in. So I still have Tuesday, Saturday hard sessions, which are my run and my bike, but I'll add in another swim session here. In this case, it's an open water session. All right, and in this example, we're doing a bit of race prep for 70.3s. I'd say if you're doing anything more than 70.3, so you're doing Ironmans, you probably need more than 10 hours to train. But I know many people have actually done it on just 10 hours a week of training. But if we're doing some race prep for 70.3s, we'll just add in a bit more specific work at that pace. So things like, so on Tuesday here, we're doing 30-minute efforts at 70.3 pace, and we've got an open water session there. And then on Saturday, we've got a brick. So we're doing 20-minute efforts at 70.3 pace, and then straight off 30 minutes off the bike, something like that. All right. Now let's look at if we had a bit less time to train. So not all of us can train for 10 hours a week. What I'd do here is swap that Wednesday medium session over to Thursday and have a day off in the middle of the week. If you have less than 8 hours a week, I'd start cutting down the time of the sessions. The one I'd probably keep constant is the long workout on the weekend. So in this case, the long ride, just because there are a lot of benefits of riding for an extended duration that you don't get with just simply 1 hour sessions. And what if you had a bit more time to train? So we're talking 12 hours plus. So first of all, make sure you're not sacrificing too much in other parts of your life. But I want to emphasize again, the more volume you do, the more important it is to nail these training intensities. So at 12 hours plus, that's when I'd probably start adding in doubles and a bit more frequency in the sports you do. So if you had 10 and a half hours, 11 hours, 11 and a half hours, I'll just add that onto your long ride. But once you hit over 12 hours, that's when I'd start adding in a very easy run, ride or swim on a Monday or Friday. And I emphasize this has to be ridiculously easy because you don't want to compromise the structure of this training program. It's probably better to not do anything at all than to do something way too hard. So my recommendation would be to add in whatever your weakness is on a Monday or Friday. I want to say that swimming is probably the lowest risk activity, so you can't go wrong with adding swimming frequency on a Monday or Friday because first of all, it's much harder to overcook yourself. But secondly, if you're not very good at swimming, you can just reinforce that technique over and over again, which will provide you results. Other things you want to consider would be things like every 4th week, we want to have a bit of an easy week, and usually you can time that around your personal life. So I'm going away with my mates in 2 weeks' time. That will be my easy week. Or I've got a really hard exam in 3 weeks' time. That will be my easy week. I'm finding more and more people try and push through their training despite feeling crap. I think that training should give you energy and you should really feel good when you train. If you don't, you're either doing too much or there's something going on in your training structure that's not quite right. All right, so there it is. This is a video that I've been wanting to make for a long time, and I'm glad I finally got around to it. I really hope this has helped you. If it has, let me know, because it really gives me motivation to make more videos like this. But if you've made it to the end, a big thank you to you guys because I've really appreciated all the support. Those comments just really keep me going. I hope to make more content. And yeah, happy training, and I'll see you in the next video.